Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier and this is Ship Updates. Now, 3.0.1 is out and live, and here it is. Took a little extra time today to collect all this footage and do a little bit of experimenting. Now, a lot of the fixes that are in this patch seem to be related to like kind of mission stuff. I mean, now that when you go to the mission guys either in Port Olisar or Grim Hex, they apparently are working now. Now, I was still kind of testing things out and of course still making first a little bit of starter cash, because once again with this patch we have been put back to our original 5,000 UEC, and there's some stuff and some gear that I need, and I no longer have the millions, so I kind of got to build things up a little bit. But I did get around to some experimentation, and overall I found that I got a pretty fair frame rate increase. You can see right there, back down to 5,000 UEC. Ugh. But the frame rate increase, I mean, you fly into Grim Hex, you're still going to get some stutters. When the game loads up, it still loads up fairly slowly, but once you get in and once things settle down, the frame rates overall seem to be a lot higher, and things seem to be overall a lot smoother. You know, it's sort of like if you're watching movies and you see a movie in the standard almost like 30 FPS range, and then you see something, you know, in HD at 60 FPS, it feels smoother, it feels cleaner. You know what I mean? This is the difference here. This is what I've been noticing in my gameplay. Everything feels a lot smoother, a lot cleaner. Overall, much more enjoyable experience to play. A lot more stable as well. There are some issues. There are some changes. Ship hit points have gone down. Ship armor resistances have gone down a little bit too. Not only for NPCs, but apparently for players as well. So that can either be a good or a bad thing depending on how you choose to view it. But you know, we knew that we weren't going to get a lot of, you know, other bug fixes. We weren't going to get a lot of ship bug fixes. For instance, the Herald still murders you for trying to fly it, but you know, caterpillar doors, yeah, still broken, but you know, those are probably fixes that we're going to get in 3.1. 3.0.1, it seems to be more performance oriented overall. Frame rates up, game more reliable, more stable, moving crates around a little bit better. Handing them in certainly is supposed to be a lot better, and when you kind of go to the counter and you hand the guy the crate, it doesn't mysteriously disappear through the floor. A lot of you might have noticed that. You pick up a mission crate, you put it down in your ship, you turn around, it's gone. That has apparently been entirely fixed. So overall, it's a great thing, and it's a very good patch. But it's just, there's a little added extra something that I was very excited to try. Now, I went out and I got myself crime stat rating deliberately, and I began to experiment with that crime stat rating, because one of the notes in the patch is that crime stat rating now persists between gameplay sessions. So I was like, okay, so does that mean that I wake up in Grim Hex now and I can live in Grim Hex? Initially, it didn't appear to be that way. So I would log out, I would log back in, I would try again, and it didn't seem to work. But what I found out later, and this is after I captured the footage, and you know, between then and now when I'm laying on the audio track, is if you physically go to Grim Hex and log out there with that crime stat rating, even if it's an hour later, like after I recorded this and then, you know, started to lay down the audio track, said, wait, I want to go test it again. I came back, I logged in, I was in Grim Hex. So finally, the crime stat rating is working now. Remember that when you commit the crime, your ships are a little bit more vulnerable now. Like when I did this and I went to a satellite and I just flipped it off, the second I got out of the satellite, my Cutlass was immediately gunned down. Like just destroyed by the NPC that was waiting outside of the Comare. So that kind of sucked. But I was able to escape in a Buccaneer, pretty quick little ship. I was able to get away and get to Grimhex, and I already had made a little bit of cash. I was able to get the pirate armor, get a solid assault rifle, and now I can respawn a lot of my stuff, except for the caterpillar, which is kind of broken anyway, so no real big loss there. I'm able to spawn my good stuff, at least, at Grimhex, so pirate gameplay has gotten a lot more piratey. Now, of course, being able to now move to Grimhex is a good thing. It's a fun thing. It's a welcome thing to now have that, and to now have that continuity in our gameplay. Always kind of moving a step forward, It's nice, and being able to kind of now be a pirate, not just be a pirate for one game session, but to now chain multiple game sessions together is, I think, just a really great thing. Now, the downside, of course, not having access to the caterpillar at Grimhex, kind of a bummer. Possibly living at Alevsky, you could do that, but where we are with the game right now, all the problems with the caterpillar notwithstanding, truthfully, I find that it's not that big a loss, really. There's, as people have pointed out, there's plenty of money to be made just flying around on a Cutlass, and certainly going out there and, say, picking up the booze and bringing it back to Grimhex, or the drugs or whatever. I think that that's going to be more interesting gameplay. It's not going to be as rewarding as straight up, playing as a legitimate player, but I think it's going to kind of have that atmosphere and flesh out pirate gameplay in a way that we really haven't had a chance to do, because every time we get back into another game session, we're transported back to Olisar, all our crimes erased. It's like it never happened. Now, with that continuity, I think it's going to really it's going to make things a lot better for pirates. I think it's going to be a lot more enjoyable to play. Now, of course, there are still many of the bugs and workarounds in the current version of 3.0. I mean, you can still warp from somewhere in atmosphere straight to Port Olisar. So if you're running cargo, that's something that you can still do in the game. You can still bounce, basically fly down to like ArcCorp, aim at Crusader, and if Olisar is visible, even if it says obstructed, you can still warp right to it. So that is still a thing. And here you can actually see the frame rate stuttering really badly as it tries to load up Grimhex. And especially now that I'm in the Buccaneer, which is very agile, it makes landing this thing a little bit exciting, because it's kind of like you're sending commands and you're not getting the feedback on screen, and so you're overcorrecting a lot. But yeah, I mean, those bugs still persist, so there's a lot of things that we still have yet to test. I mean, once again, here I am in the Buccaneer. I've decided to give the Buccaneer a second chance. I'm really curious to see where the current version of the interdiction mechanic goes. Of course, we had heard in the beginning, amongst the other things that were going to be included with the Buccaneer, or possibly, air quotes, included with the Buccaneer, was some form of interdiction mechanism. And I'm gonna keep one handy to see where that goes. It's been enjoyable to fly. One of the more enjoyable things about it, of course, is the cockpit view in it, which is excellent, absolutely excellent. This is what I consider to be an acceptable cockpit view. Just FYI. I mean, these are my standards. They may not be yours, but this to me is acceptable. This is the way it, in my eyes, should be. But yeah, I've decided to give the Buccaneer another chance. I want to kind of experiment with it and knock out a few different loadouts and try it out in the universe and basically just mess around with it. But yeah, I mean, realistically, even now that I'm recording the audio, I'm sure you can kind of hear me kind of pausing here and there because I'm literally right now, I'm thinking of things that I want to do, and I kind of want to get back into the game and play it. And I think that that's kind of where I want to leave things off, is that it really is a good time to try. Now, one of the unfortunate bugs that has come with this, and hopefully it's something that they're going to get resolved over the weekend, is that had you not copied your account over to the 3.0 PTU previously, then the 3.01 PTU that is currently going, you can't copy your account over to this one unless you previously had done it for the other version. So hopefully they get that resolved really soon, but really, I can't emphasize this enough. Try it. Get in and try it. There are bugs, yes. Is it frustrating at times? Absolutely. But, you know, one of the things that I've learned over the years playing many different games is that when you do get a chance to get into the early access, and when you do get a chance to kind of mess around with things beforehand, the lessons that you can take away from that are absolutely invaluable. They really, really are. I can't emphasize that enough. And I'm sure a lot of you know what it's like to kind of come into a game a little late and to find all these people who know all these tricks and know all these things. And yes, hello. And you know how frustrating it can be, especially if you end up having to compete against those players. And so now really is a good time to get in there and just see how things are fleshing out. Maybe nail down your control scheme, get used to it, and just kind of see if there's any conflicts in your control schemes that you hadn't thought of. You know, buttons that you may have to push at the same time that you didn't really think of, and now that you're trying to reach for them in a serious situation, you can't. It's a great time to really get in and kind of wring out a lot of these kind of very basic level problems that are going to crop up as you're learning the game. So with that, I'm going to end this off as I take a little short walking tour of my new home for at least this patch. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the show, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.